Hello. Welcome back to the Affaircare series. This week we are going over the Love Extinguishers, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for sticking with us during the series. So far I've been having a lot of fun and hope you guys are learning a lot as well. Also, I wanted to say thank you again to our guest poster from yesterday. We had a great response, and I hope everyone appreciated and enjoyed hearing a little more from our guest. So today we are looking at the fourth love extinguisher that will put out the fire of love, and that would be financial neglect. Now, in case you have not been keeping up, I would suggest to start learning some of our little lingo and whatnot, to go ahead and listen to our very first podcast, which would be called Intro Basic Concepts. And this will explain in some greater detail what our basic concepts are here at Affaircare. But to summarize kind of quickly, just so you can kind of keep up, here at Affaircare, we think of love as a fire, like a campfire. Envision that. And we think that there are actions that a person can do that will, add to the fire and make it grow, make it hotter, make it stronger. This is a Love Kindler. And for those actions, we call that, we use the term commitment in there because in that instance, you're honoring your commitment to your spouse. On the other hand, we think there are actions which will put out the fire of love. These are actions are called love extinguishers because you can imagine they extinguish the fire of love. And we use that term in their neglect because when you are doing a love extinguisher kind of action, you are neglecting your commitment to your spouse and your marriage. So we've been going over this week, I guess a little bit last week and this week, the love extinguishers. And today we're going over the fourth one, which is financial neglect. Very often, one of the most common complaints we actually hear from people is that, oh, she only wants me for my wallet, and he only wants me for my body. Well, we talked about, the truth in those statements to a degree. Yesterday we were talking about I guess it was Saturday, we were talking about physical neglect and physical attractiveness and that kind of things. The, he only wants me for my body part. Today we're going to be going over the she only wants me for my wallet part. As I mentioned, though, there is some truth to that, in that men, as a general rule, are visual creatures, and they initially especially are attracted and can stay attracted when someone takes the time to care about their physical appearance. Likewise, ladies, as like a general rule, but they like to have that feeling like they are being taken care of, and the family is not going to be, hurting or hungry or having to do without, because there's a certain level of being provided for. So women like that little, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a security thing of knowing that themselves and their children will be taken care of. And that can sometimes win a lady's heart. So it doesn't have to be a man or a woman, but whether it's a man or a woman, both parties need to be contributing to the marriage financially, and both can use this particular extinguisher to disregard your spouse's financial needs, and you're going to become the kind of spouse who does these kinds of actions. I'm going to list a couple, and we'll go over each example a little more in depth. So you would be disregarding your spouse's financial needs by becoming the sort of spouse who is unemployed for a long period of time, that due to lack of trying, and it's not a mutual agreement. Now, like I said, we'll go over these in more detail in a minute. You become that kind of spouse who's neglecting your spouse's financial needs when you are unwilling or unable to live by a budget. So maybe the two of you sit down and agree to a budget, and then you just ignore it and overspend. You're committing financial neglect. Okay? You become the kind of spouse who is disregarding your spouse's financial needs if you have hidden debt. And again, we'll go over that in much greater detail in a minute. Another example, the fourth example, is if you become a spouse who hides their spending or who's overspending. And then the fifth kind of example I'm going to give today is if you have IRS or legal financial trouble, like judgments and liens and things. And again, you're trying to hide them. So, okay, so let's go over each kind of example in the order that I gave them there, just because that's the way that I have them. And we'll discuss them a little bit more so you can kind of get a feel for if this is something, perhaps a Love Extinguisher that you are doing. So the first example that I wanted to go over in greater detail is if you are a spouse that is unemployed for long term due to lack of trying, and where it's not part of a mutual agreement. Now, I bring all this up because in this economy, especially right now, people are losing their jobs, and they will be unemployed for a while, but you can tell that they're really trying, right? Here's a guy who's like up at 9 a.m., works till 6 p.m., and they're out job hunting, they're out doing job interviews, they're sending out resumes, 10, 15 a day. This is a guy who's really trying, and so even though he doesn't get picked for the job, it's not due to lack of trying. So I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about, nor am I talking about the person where the two of you sit down together and you realize that if one parent if both parents go to work, the cost of the child care for X number of kids will completely eat up the income of the second spouse who's going to work. So there's no point. I mean, it's like pointless. And if you guys agree together, the second spouse will stay home and care for the children and the household. Well, then that's a mutual agreement. Okay, so you're not unemployed, so to speak. You're really employed taking care of the house and the kids. That's still contributing to the income. Okay, so you follow what I'm saying? This is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is the person who sits on the couch. They're playing video games all day. They don't help with the household chores or contribute to the family, in that kind of positive way. They don't really apply for work. They're not trying in any kind of way. They just expect the other spouse to take care of them. Okay, again, just to be clear, I'm not talking about the guy who has, like an illness, like my dear hubby has an illness. But you know what? Even while he's not feeling great, he will still get off his butt and try to help with some household chores and contribute to the family. We also collaborate quite a bit on stuff with Affaircare here. So I think you kind of get the drift. Are you the person who, you let your spouse work and work and work, and you're not doing something in an equal way to contribute? Now, if you do get laid off through no fault of your own, or even if it is to your fault, you're laid off and you're not employed, while you're unemployed, your spouse has to go off to work, you take care of the house. That's your job. You take care of that like as if it's your job. Get up in the morning, make sure it looks good, make sure yourself is looking good, you know what I mean? Make the effort to be filling out resumes. That's somebody who's actually making the effort to meet the financial needs. So, if you are a person who's long-term unemployed due to just, not caring, you're committing this neglect, financial neglect. Okay, our second example I wanted to go over is if you're a person who's unwilling or unable to live by a budget. Now, by unwilling, what I mean is you are just so stubborn and headstrong that you will not be told what to spend, like that kind of person. Then you're, that's the part you need to work on, that stubborn pride that you are unwilling to live within your means. If your means are lower, it's okay and reasonable to lower your standard of living and still be completely happy. So, okay, and if you're unable, that would be somebody maybe who is so impulsive, maybe they have some sort of a mental illness or something, and they are so impulsive that they cannot control themselves. This is usually, at least this is my personal opinion, that's usually a person who, then what they're neglecting is, I have an illness and I need to do something to address the illness, okay? You're just saying, oh, I can't live by a budget and I'm being all impulsive, and then they just go off and spend what they want, okay? No, you're using that as an excuse. And I don't care if you do have an illness, then your responsibility is to do something to treat, that impulsiveness. So either way, you need to exercise the self-control and learn to wait. If you're a person who is unwilling to live by a budget, or you're unable and you're not dealing with it, then you are a person who is putting out the fire of love in your marriage. And I would encourage you to then change to a person who is, let's say you're not great at living by a budget, but you could talk to your spouse and say, I am not good at this, but I'm willing to try. Let's see what we can do, right? And when you do a bad job, jump right back and go right back on and do a better job again. Likewise, if you're so impulsive and you're, like I was talking about, you're unable, I would say give your spouse the money, or here's your allowance. It's $20 a week or whatever it would be, and once you've run out of that money, you're done for the week, and you have no way. Just admit and acknowledge what your impulsiveness is, and that the result of that is since I'm irresponsible with money, I can't have the money. Okay, you have to not only stop the bad thing, but you have to start the good thing. Okay. All right. The third example that I was talking about, that is financial neglect, is somebody who has hidden debt. Now, there are a couple of kinds of people that are in this type of a love extinguisher. First, there would be the person who ran up some debt when they were younger or single or whatever, and they're ashamed of it, so they keep the debt a secret. And then they try to deal with it on their own. It harms the marriage because you are actually keeping something. There's like a little wedge between the husband and the wife, and that is the secret, this debt. Okay. That one might be kind of at the level of sprinkling water on the fire of love, depending on what lengths you have to go to keep it secret. Okay. Another example is the person who has it's much more harmful. This is the person who secretly goes and gets credit cards, or maybe takes out a second mortgage, that kind of thing, without informing their spouse. They put their spouse into financial hardship, and they're literally pouring water on the blazing fire of love and extinguishing it quite a bit. Finally, the same category, but there's the person who actually is a criminal. This is a person who takes out credit cards by forging their spouse's approval, or using their spouse's Social Security number, using a fake Social Security number. Those are criminal actions. And this is somebody who they're doing these devious financial things, like hiding property, or selling a property to stay one step ahead of the repo man. This person is not. This is not just pouring some water on the blaze. This is dumping water on the blaze of love. Once your spouse finds out, you pretty much have had it. So if this is where you are, again, like I keep putting forth, what you need to do is not only stop the bad extinguishers, but also start the good behavior, right? So no matter which one of those three kinds of people with the hidden debt you are, what you do is, if you've got a secret, tell your spouse. Just go tell them. They may be upset for a little while, and you know what? They're allowed to be upset. But that's okay. The secret will be out, and then you can deal with it together as a team. If you're the kind of person who has taken out a credit card, and it's in your own name, but it's still hidden, then here's what you need to do. You go to your spouse with the second mortgage papers or the credit card bill or whatever. You give it to them. You give them the card, and that way you're stopping that way of behaving. And starting the good one would be, okay, now how am I going to take responsibility for what I've done, and coming up with a method for paying it off or taking care of it. And then the last person, of course, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to face some pretty harsh realities. I don't know if if your spouse will press charges, but they might, and you may have to go to jail. This is the price that you pay. There's a cost to every choice you make. And if you make the choice to do a criminal action, there may be a price of jail, and that's life. But you got to stop doing the one harmful thing and start doing the right thing, and start getting your life back on track. Okay, the fourth kind of person that is not meeting their spouse's financial needs. This is a person who hides their spending or overspends. It's a little different from the person who's dumping, doing the secret debt, because this is a dynamic where you guys have had the talk, you've had this financial talk, and you agree that you should only spend this much for groceries or something, right? And here you go, hubby, we agree you're going to have this much to go to work and buy your lunches, whatever, right? And so then the other spouse feels like they're being controlled, and so in a way to be defiant, they run out and overspend. They, we agreed, and they're going to spend the whole grocery budget on a new pair of designer shoes, and then they hide the shoes in the trunk until they can sneak them into the house. Okay, or they pay the bill and behind their spouse's back, and then say, we seem to be out of money, and act like they don't know what happened, right? The reason this one is a little bit different is that the dynamic is it's passive aggressive. You agree to their face, and then behind their back, you want to defy them, so you go off and do this spending. Okay, and whether it's hiding a small purchase, or you're overspending to a huge degree that you're putting your family into bankruptcy, these people are killing their marriage, and they're putting out the blaze of passion in proportion to how big of a debt they're creating. So again, stop the behavior of hiding your spending and start the behavior of being transparent with all of your money. Let your spouse see where every single penny goes. Okay, and then the last person is a person who has IRS or legal financial troubles like judgments and liens, that kind of person. Or maybe they have fines from the court, right? So don't take this wrong. I do not consider the IRS to be a friendly, cooperative group. I personally do not like the IRS, okay? They do not have flexible customer service, But when you have like the IRS or courts that and you're in trouble, the stress on the couple can literally break them up. So first of all, I would encourage you to live a life where you can avoid legal financial troubles. Okay? If you haven't done that, that's where you are now. Legal financial troubles do not go away, so don't ignore them. You would slowly put out your spouse's passion if you just ignore them and let them pile up, because pretty soon their bank account is going to be leaned, right? Instead, I would encourage you, if you have this trouble, admit where you are, face it together as a couple, and decide together as a couple, as a team, how you're going to address it. Again, you may have to live within your means, and that means, living a little lower standard of living in order to address this problem. You may have to hire an attorney, but don't ignore it. Address it. Okay, over the next couple of days, we'll be finishing up with the Love Extinguishers. I think tomorrow I'm going to try to finish them, actually, number 5, 6, and 7, all in one day, so that we can get right on into this new thing that I want to address for our new program, and that is the steps to take to end an affair. I want to get right into that as soon as I can, so I'm going to try to get Love Kindler or Love Extinguishers 5, 6, and 7 tomorrow. And again, we're doing all this to introduce you to our new program that's coming up October 1st. That would be 90 days to save your marriage and save you. And if you're interested, I will be hopefully posting on our site a little sign-up thing that says, "Yeah, I'm interested. Let me know as soon as this is available," and we will get that out to you as soon as we can. So thanks so much for following along. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hope you have a great night. Bye-bye.